When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the SeptumSin versus the World Vlogcast. This, of course,
Revisited.
Yes, indeed. We did film this entire thing prior, and then it corrupted on my computer because my computer is falling apart piece by piece. So we had a wonderful thing there for you, but we're going to try and do it a little bit more compact for you, maybe a little bit shorter. That way, if it corrupts, we're not quite as,
Right.
That way I don't have to pull out the rest of my hair, what little there is left of it.
Right.
And we can just go over what really matters, which are the results of the Oscars.
Right.
So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go over each category. We'll talk a little bit about the films we've seen in each category.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, shorter as we retread.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about who we picked versus who actually won that night.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting night, filled with surprises.
Very odd and full. Yeah, it's like you said. And as we go, we'll note that there were a few where we really were off. Mm-hmm. But most of them, we at least were close. So this is kind of the typical thing. Like, I'll often miss the number one, but I'll have the actual winner as my backup.
And if you want to check us to make sure we aren't cheating, you can always go back to last week's predictions,
Right.
and you'll see not only our lead prediction, but those that we said are likely to be the winner if the one that we predicted didn't win.
Indeed.
So we're not snowing y'all.
Right. And of course, this is a couple days later because, again, technology. We did have a whole bunch of stuff, We also did our impressions of the Razzies, but we're not going to bother with that. Just suffice it to say, a couple of films won. They're too political. That pretty much sums it up, I think.
Yeah. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with original screenplay. The ones I've seen out of this were First Reformed, which was a very dark film, but
really
very
good screenplay.
Very good film, except for the end. I saw Green Book.
You did?
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't see Green Book. Sorry,
Oh.
I saw Roma. That's what I meant to say. I saw Roma. So I've seen two out of this category. And Roma is, to me, the quintessential Oscar film. It's artsy. It's classy. It's got a picture of the waves crashing on the beach. It's everything that the Oscars could look for.
It's black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
And foreign language.
Yeah, true. And they have an Oscar favorite director. So of course, my pick was one that I haven't seen, which was The Favorite, and my secondary was Green Book. And of course, Green Book won. But any case, I know you've seen. I think you've seen almost all of them.
No, I've seen First Reformed, Roma, and Vice. And my pick was Roma with The Favorite as a backup. I thought Roma was likely to get a sweep going, and I was wrong about that. And again, as he said, Alfonso Cuarón. The Favorite is Yorgos Lanthimos, who for whatever reason is becoming an Oscar favorite. And I will admit, for all that we dump on Dogtooth, it was original. And The Lobster was, oh my God, that was original. I have not seen The Favorite or Green Book for the simple reason that I was not going to pay money to see a Yorgos Lanthimos film or a Peter Farrelly film in the theaters. I did not think Green Book had a chance here, and I was dead wrong. So this was one category that I just was off. But for adapted screenplay, I think we were both right on. And that, of course, was Black Klansman was the winner. Spike Lee finally got an Oscar. We are all very happy. He was ecstatic, and so was Sam Jackson. That whole scene was actually really fun.
That was great.
And, of course, Spike Lee comes decked out head to toe in purple. I mean, he just... He was... it was worth seeing him at the Oscars on multiple levels. We'll talk more on where he could have won later, but it was great that he did get the screenplay nod. Of these, I have seen... only 3 of these, A Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Klansman, and A Star is Born. And I had called that it would be Black Klansman with A Star is Born as a distant possibility. So, yeah, like I said, I got that one all right.
Yeah, I think so. When it, and you've seen... See, I saw A Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Black Klansman. I came close to seeing Can You Ever Forgive Me? And I've seen A Star is Born.
I'll see that one soon.
But Black Klansman was my pick. I did pick A Star is Born as a runner-up for number 2, but I'm glad to see that it won. And I mean, with Spike Lee's, what do they call it? Political speech out of his 2. We didn't get to see his other one.
Yeah, he was real nervous. He was surprisingly nervous. You know, he would have thought he would have been up there ready to go. But he of course, he put in a little shout out to Do the Right Thing, which was cool. Yeah. And then go ahead with the next one.
Alright, so next is visual effects.
So I think we've both seen all of these.
Yeah, actually, yes, we have. I mean, Avengers Infinity War, which I really thought should have won this category. I feel like it was robbed in the category.
Yes. Well, it was robbed overall. This was its only shot at some retribution. No.
I mean, Christopher Robin, which was okay, but visually, I think it was the least of the ones we saw.
Oh, yeah, that slot should have gone to Ant-Man and the Wasp, no question.
But First Man, which won, and that just, I didn't think that was going to happen. But to me, I think that was the second least. Because the other 2, Ready Player One and Solo, A Star Wars Story, those were visually impressive. And like I say, you've seen all of them too. I mean, what did you think? You think that was...
I had called Infinity War. I thought it was almost a given, but I was wrong. I should have known that they would want to give First Man a token win, and it didn't have any shot in production design or much shot in sound, which we'll get to that one in a bit. I didn't realize this would be its token win. You know, and it's even worse because they snubbed the film in 2 categories it should have been up for. And when this happened, I had to comment. I was like, oh my God, Infinity War now officially has fewer Oscars than Suicide Squad. Yeah. What is wrong with this world? But I did call First Man as the spoiler, with Ready Player One as a maybe spoiler. So I wasn't totally off, but I was still caught off guard. I was... Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead, because everyone does it, I'm going to go ahead and do the sound categories together. I had called both of them to go to one film, and they did go to one film, but it was not the one I called. I've actually seen all 5 of the films in each of these categories, too, and I think you may have as well at this point.
Yes.
And then, of course, I called Roma for both, for the simple reasons that A, the sound in the film is phenomenal, and B, I thought Roma would get a bit of a sweep going. I called the different films, A Star is Born and Quiet Place, as the also-rans. I really should have given more credit to Bohemian Rhapsody, but I didn't think it had the legs to get as many Oscars as it did. So I was totally off on this one.
Yeah, that one really surprised me. I've seen all of the ones on here myself. I thought, well, actually, no, it didn't surprise me. I actually picked Bohemian Rhapsody, darn it.
For one of them.
I'm thinking sound editing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had picked Bohemian Rhapsody for sound mixing and First Man for sound editing because I was certain that First Man was there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool that I have seen all the films in both categories now.
Right.
And First Man surprised me that it didn't get that because I felt like that was the place it was going to shine. And sound editing didn't seem like the appropriate place for the Bohemian Rhapsody win.
I don't know about that. And this was one reason why I was surprised that they nominated Bohemian Rhapsody in both categories, but they only put A Star is Born in mixing. They're both performance-heavy, concert-heavy films. It's kind of like the Golden Globes nominating A Star is Born for musical, but not Bohemian Rhapsody. Makes no sense. They're the same film structurally. It makes no sense that they should be. And so, yeah, I think that people tend to think editing is less involved with performance films than mixing, but I think they're both very important. But still, editing should have been a Quiet Places, but it wasn't going to be.
I think that the one good fix to this would be to do it like they do the nominations. Is have the votes cast only by the people in those departments. That way, nobody is messing it up.
Yeah, but it would also be less fun for the people that can't vote for other stuff, but whatever. Anyway, so next up, we got one that I was not even close.
Short film, live action.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we both seen a decent number of this.
At the time of
4
the
out of
show,
the 5.
Well, at the time of the show, I had seen 1, and I've still only seen 3 of them.
I mean, yeah, I've seen 4 out of the 5, and I had said Marguerite because Marguerite is, it's this film about this older woman who is coming to terms with her frailty in life. And to me, that's like right there. That is like Oscar bait. And it's French.
Yeah, well, French-Canadian, but yeah.
But Skin won that. And Skin, I can understand. It was my second choice in that because it was very racially centered. And that's the theme that they're trying to go for. To me, I feel like they fell flat on their face for it.
Well, we'll get to that.
But we'll get to that later. But yeah, I think that the race was the theme that they were trying to go for this year.
I'll be honest, this was a category. Live action short is always tough for me. For one, they never make the films all that accessible. At this point, the only one that I've watched properly is Fauve. I saw the other 2, Marguerite and Madre, but I saw Marguerite. Actually, we said we were going to talk about it post viewing. I saw Marguerite and Madre after the Oscars, and Marguerite, I watched this French language film with Portuguese subtitles, and I don't speak Portuguese. And I saw Madre, which is Spanish, with Spanish subtitles, and I don't speak Spanish either. Now, Marguerite has relatively little dialogue, so it's pretty easy to follow. Madre, I would not have been able to follow at all if I didn't read about it. There's way too much to keep up. There's a lot of dialogue in that one. But I could tell that both of them were very well made films. They seemed to both be better than Fauve. Fauve, I knew would not win. That was the only thing I knew about this category. I called Detainment, and I was totally wrong. I didn't even call a second. So, yeah, it's totally off on that one. Animated short, I did better, but still failed. At this point, I've seen 4 of the nominees. At the point of the Oscars, I had seen 2, Bow and One Small Step. I, since then, have seen Animal Behavior and Late Afternoon. Animal Behavior, to me, is the least of the 4 by a far sight. Late Afternoon is very good. Bow is very good. And One Small Step is freaking awesome. And this is one where, honestly, I knew I was going out on a limb, and the limb broke from
Yeah,
under
you
me.
fell right off the limb.
Exactly. I called One Small Step with Bao as the spoiler, knowing that it was probably the other way around, and Bao was the winner. Yeah.
So, let's see. Yeah, I've seen the same 4 because they basically, as soon as it was nominated, Weekends was taken off of all viewable platforms.
Yeah.
It's probably back out now, but I have no interest in seeing it now. But there's a part of me, but there's another part of me that's kind of mad with them for doing that. So I probably won't bother with them. They can deal with it. If they didn't want me to see it then, I'm just going to assume they don't want me to see it now. And so I'm going to do what they want and not watch it. But Bao, I just knew it was going to win. I mean, it's Pixar, and Pixar, well, I think that Pixar, they wanted to have a win for Pixar, and the One Small Step was good. It felt, the sad thing is, One Small Step was good, but you know what it felt like? A Pixar film. It really did.
It felt a lot like a Pixar film.
So it's kind of just weird like that.
The art style was different, but yeah. In a lot of ways. And honestly, if it had clicked in my head, wait, Pixar's not winning animated feature, they're going to give it to the short. If I had thought of it that way, I would have easily picked Bao. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I liked Animal Behavior, but that's because I work in the field of mental health.
Oh, yeah,
and,
it was fun.
I've led groups before, so it's kind of entertaining. And from somebody who studies psychology, it's hilarious. The little things that whoever did it has definitely either worked in the field or worked with the field quite a bit. So let's go on to production design.
Indeed.
I've seen 3 out of the 5. I keep wanting to say I saw the favorite, but I just
no, I've seen 3 of the 5 as well.
So I mean, I saw Black Panther, First Man, and Roma. Of course, I'm not going to go over all of these again, but Black Panther was my choice for winning, and Black Panther again did it. It's an excellent production. I mean, they created an entire awesome world. I put the favorite as my spoiler, but thank goodness I didn't have to go there.
Right. I honestly felt that I was going out on a limb here, and maybe I was, because comic book movie, but I really did feel Black Panther deserved the win. And I thought the fact that it would be an historic win would be a reason for Oscar to go that way, and it may have been why they did, who knows. But they did end up picking Black Panther, and the reason why it is an historic win, of course, is that Hannah Beachler, one of the 2 nominees, is the first African-American woman ever nominated in this category. So making it a win, it was a double sort of win for the Academy. So that made sense that they would go there. But it is flippin' awesome production design. I've not seen the favorite, but from the stills and the scenes I've seen, it's pretty impressive. And that and Roma were both ones I put as possible spoilers. But like you said, at least luckily we didn't have to go there.
Yeah.
Then we had original song, and this one was pretty easy to call. I put down All Stars from Black Panther as a spoiler, but really I think everyone thought Shallow from A Star Is Born was going to win, and sure enough it did.
And it was a powerful performance.
Oh, it was.
Oscar night. Of course, though, that is probably the easiest category to get all of them, because usually YouTube will have the music videos up. So you can listen to them in their entirety each time.
I still haven't bothered to watch the one for Mary Poppins Returns. I did enjoy Bette Midler's performance.
Yeah.
But here, okay, speaking of performances, this was the one where the Academy really screwed up and said, oh yeah, we gotta save time. We want to save time, so let's cut out the music. We'll have just 2 people perform, and we'll invite all the stars. We'll invite the Shallow people, and it's like Yeah, okay, so you're telling us who you think has any shot of winning right off the bat.
Let's eliminate all of it, like a couple.
Exactly, and that's just like really, that right there is an insult to the other people that are nominated. But then the fact that you think it's not important to the audience or anything that they get to perform on the show, as I've said before, that's one of the reasons to tune into the show.
Oh, it's fun. Little performances and stuff.
Exactly. And this year they did do some really good ones. I'm a little bit unclear about the logic behind Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga performing their song, but Bette Midler's standing in for Emily Blunt, and it made more sense for David Rawlings and Gillian Welch to stand in for Tim Blake Nelson and Wally Watson because they wrote the song. But, you know, the big issue I had, though, was they cut the mics.
Yeah.
I don't know what the bleeding hell they were thinking. Whoever was running the sound failed, because all the music performances, even the opening performance by Queen, sounded muted.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what are you thinking? Those are the part where you need to make sure your sound is working. It's nice if you can hear the speeches. It's less important to hear the banter from the presenters. But cutting the mics for the music was like, what were you thinking? And I think they did it intentionally. So shame on you, Oscar, for trying to make us not want music.
So looking over here, we go to original score.
Yep.
Also a nice musical piece.
Yep.
I have seen 3 of the nominees: Black Panther,
Yep.
Black Klansman, and Isle of Dogs.
Yep.
I put all of my bets on Isle of Dogs because I thought that Desplat does a great score, and I figured it would do that. But Black Panther did take the win. And it was a good score. But again,
I thought it was a great
I'm
score.
always just very partial to any of the Desplat scores, usually.
I usually am. From what I've heard, I do enjoy Ludwig Göransson's work, and from what I've heard, I enjoy Terrence Blancard's work. But I had called Black Panther. I had said that it's a little bit of a long shot because, again, comic book movie, but I had called Isle of Dogs as a second and Black Klansman as a distant third. I leaned heavily on those because they were the ones I was familiar with. But, I actually got that one right, and was very happy and shocked that Black Panther did as good of a showing as it did. And we'll get to that in a little bit soon. Next up, the
Biggest one.
category that the Academy obviously hates because they only allow 3. It's in the bylaws that only 3 nominees, and it's like obviously someone in the makeup department pissed off the Academy somewhere. But this one was so damned easy. I've only seen Vice, and I could tell you without even hesitating that it was guaranteed to win. And this was one where I didn't even call a second. I said Vice. And I was right.
And I haven't seen any of them, and I also called Vice, just because, I mean, really, it's Darkest Hour all over again.
In some ways. It's certainly in the makeup
Well, not in the, in the makeup category
although
is what I mean.
Although, if I'm not much mistaken, I don't think there was a total, a lot of people think it was a fat suit, but I think Christian Bale actually gained that weight. Because he does weird stuff like that. But definitely all the hair and everything. They had to, they covered like 50 years, so they definitely did some aging there. Yeah.
So next up is one of our favorite artsy categories, the foreign language film.
I like French films.
I have seen a massive number of films in this category. 1.
I've seen 2. And one of them was after we made our predictions.
So, Roma was the only one I saw, and Roma is the only one I picked. And Roma is the one that won.
Well, there you go.
Actually, I did get a second pick for Cold War as a possible second because of what I had heard. But, Cold War will be out on the 22nd of next month. So if you want to see it, you can.
Out in theaters or out
on Amazon Prime.
Okay. I had also called Roma, and I called Cold War as a maybe spoiler. I had seen Roma, and since then I have seen Shoplifters, and Shoplifters is a great film. It is truly a great film. Not as good as Roma. Roma is a great film, but they're both excellent films, and I continue to maintain that they need to freaking fix that category. I like having a foreign language feature category, but there's so many things wrong with the way it's done right now. And one of them is why I just asked, is Cold War coming out in theaters? They don't have to come out in theaters until whenever. And that's stupid. They only have to come out in theaters in their home country during a window that doesn't even sync up with the window that everything else does.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But anyway, so...
it would be up to film editing.
It is my turn, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So for film editing, we have, once again, I've seen 3. And once again, my prejudice against the favorite and Green Book is why I've only seen 3. I had, for this one, I called The Favorite because I thought that it was the kind of film that editing would probably be a major factor in it. And I thought The Favorite would win a few awards. And because, frankly, I was not super impressed with the editing for Vice, which is what everyone seemed to be talking about. So I had called The Favorite, but I put Vice as a likely spoiler, and I was dead wrong. It went to Bohemian Rhapsody. So,
and I too was dead wrong because I also put Vice down. I've only seen BlacKkKlansman and Bohemian Rhapsody in this category, but I still Vice was what I called, and Bohemian Rhapsody won.
Yep.
I didn't even know of. Well, I guess because they had to kind of reshoot most of it.
Yeah.
I guess the editing was good that way.
My theory. I don't think they reshot most of it, but they did fire Bryan Singer with about 2 weeks left of principal photography, and was it Dexter Fletcher? I guess was the backup, and they probably, the Academy probably was thinking, okay, there's not a single cohesive director behind the helm with this thing, so it's still a relatively coherent movie. This is not Suicide Squad. This is a relatively coherent movie, so it must be the editing.
And yet Suicide Squad has one more Oscar than Avengers Infinity War.
No, that was a film where the editor should have been fired and worse. Yes.
So one of our other, real easy to find ones, documentary short subject.
Yep.
Which I actually surprisingly was pretty easy to find because I saw all of them.
I think you saw 4 when we made our predictions.
Yeah, I think I watched period end of sentence afterwards.
And I'd actually seen 5.
And actually, at that point. I mean, I had predicted Black Sheep would win because, again, strong racial overtones. It's about something, and it's about a topic that many people in this country are dealing with. The other one was also pretty political, which was A Night at the Garden because of current circumstances, and yet it went to period end of sentence, which is a good film, don't get me wrong, a Netflix film, and it is important to women's liberation in a lot of ways because and just spreading knowledge. So I do feel like it was an important film, but I was definitely blindsided.
And let's just interject, these are all really good films.
Oh,
and
yes.
they're really, all of them cover important topics. I mean, my personal favorite was Endgame just because it hit really close to home. It was painful to watch because it hit so close to home, but it was very moving. Period, end of sentence, to me, it felt more like a PSA than a proper documentary. But I guess in a sense, the PSAs are documentaries. So, kind of like a polemic is technically a documentary. So technically, like Fahrenheit 11/9 could be a documentary, but it's kind of pushing the boundaries a bit. But personally, I had done the reverse of what he did. I thought A Night at the Garden was going to win, and I picked Black Sheep as the spoiler. So yeah, again, I was kind of blindsided when Period won. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of interesting that the what it opened up for us. The one woman going up there and exclaiming in disbelief, "I can't believe a film about menstruation won the Oscar." I was like, that's a line you don't hear every day at the Oscars. So, there was some good stuff there. And like you said, the whole thing was like an educational mission, because people really sometimes just don't know stuff that they need to know. And so yeah, that was a good one. And then for a documentary feature, we also got a little bit, not blindsided. I think we both had the same idea here. You've seen a whole bunch more of these than I have, though, I think. I've only seen Minding the Gap and RBG, unfortunately, and some of the ones that should have been nominated. But anyway, I had thought, because of the political climate, it would probably go to RBG, but I also knew that other than the not nominated Won't You Be My Neighbor and Three Identical Strangers, the most popular and talked about documentary of the year was Free Solo.
Yeah.
So I figured that was a good spoiler.
And it was.
It was. It spoiled it.
Yeah, that was how it was. Of course, Best Documentary Feature should have gone to Won't You Be My Neighbor.
Yes.
But
shame on you, Oscar, for saying no to Mr. Rogers.
Just the three that I have seen this year with it. Hale County was a portrait about race in Southern America, which to me is more important than a documentary on mountain climbing. Minding the Gap is a portrait about lower class America. People growing up in that culture, and the skate culture, which is something that very few people have talked about, which also talks about subjects of race. And again, to me, better subject than mountain climbing. And finally, RBG, which was my pick, which is about a landmark figure in and of her own self, and a very well put together documentary with an excellent soundtrack and a song that got an original song nod. Also, to me, better than mountain climbing. But when I do get this and watch it, I will be able to definitively say whether I believe that mountain climbing does indeed trump race and all sorts of politics.
Right.
So, Best Director. Well, this one was not very surprising.
No.
I have seen, out of these, I have seen two. I had Roma as my front runner, with Black Klansman as the spoiler, which I would have loved to have seen win. But Alfonso Cuarón is a favorite. He was a favorite to win, and of course he did win it.
And both Cuarón and Spike Lee did do a phenomenal jobs with their films. I personally thought Vice's Adam McKay really, I would have picked other people over him. He did a great job, but he would not have made the cut for me. I have not seen the other two films. But for many reasons, I would have loved to see Spike Lee win for this award. But it really was Cuarón's award. He pretty much, Roma was his baby. It was his labor of love. And there was no better way to reward that than in the director category. So, yeah.
Well,
Okay, so
Alright.
it gives my go. Costume design. And this was one of the more pleasant surprises of the night. I had gone with the favorite because the Academy loves them some period costume dramas. A different sort than the one we were recently talking about. But they love themselves some costume dramas. And they nominated 2 of them,
Yeah.
The Favorite and Mary Queen of Scots.
Which got nothing.
Yes, I've actually only seen 2 in this category, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and Black Panther, which actually is interesting. I think this may be the first or second, because I want to say True Grit might have got it. This may be the second time a Coen Brothers film has been in this category. So I like that. I mean, certainly Buster Scruggs had some pretty sharp duds.
Yeah.
He really did. But I really wanted to see Black Panther win. I called it as a long shot spoiler, and to my shock, it did.
I really feel like they were trying to make up for things
Yeah.
in this. Black Panther, this was their way of saying, yeah, we can't give Black Panther any of the big awards, so we'll give it a bunch of technical awards, and I hope you will be happy with that.
And you hope that we will completely ignore and forget that you snubbed Ant-Man completely and shut out Infinity War because we gave all these awards to Black Panther, because they're all the same.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're
Yeah.
all these comic book movies.
Yeah.
But this one has a racial overtone, so therefore...
Well, it also did allow for an historic moment because Ruth
was.
Carter is the first African-American woman to win in this
And-
category.
I think...
So-
And Black Panther, don't let me... I mean, I don't want to
The
discredit it.
costumes are awesome.
I mean, yeah,
They're
first off,
awesome.
costumes are awesome. And Black Panther is an important movie when it comes
Yes.
to race.
Yes.
When it comes to these things. I actually considered it very important. It is also sad that another very important movie to race, Crazy Rich Asians,
Yeah.
did not get a nomination
That
at all
was
for any of these.
flat out gypped in this category. In
this
this
category
category,
especially.
Crazy Rich Asians, more than any other category, this one in supporting actress, it got gypped. And it really should have been up in both.
But I was at the same level. I only seen 2 of these, and Black Panther was my second one, my spoiler, because again, good costume design. But I swore up and down the favorite was going to get a
Because
lot
they
of
never
one this year.
reward comics. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I honestly believe either of the Deadpool movies should have been up for costume design. And there have been a couple others, though, like the Guardians of the Galaxy and some.
Yeah.
There have been some Ant-Man. There have been some where the costume design, bringing those weird designs from the comics to life and making it work. That's no mean feat. You know, it's really insulting to the costume designers to say, "Oh, it's just a comic book movie." So maybe this will be a sea change for comic book movies.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Cinematography, another easy one, actually.
Yeah.
I've only seen 2 of the nominees, Roma and A Star Is Born, and Roma was the favorite by a long mile.
Right.
I didn't even have a spoiler for that one because I was that certain that Roma was going to win, and I was right. Roma did win.
I had Cold War as a spoiler because I've seen stills and it looks gorgeous, and it's two black and white foreign films. Actually, it's amazing that 3 of the films in this category were also up for foreign language feature, and 2 of them were also up for best director. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
Actually,
And what's
I
up?
will say this. I do think that if things had not turned out the way that they did for Roma, that Cold War, that if they had turned out how I had originally predicted, that Cold War probably would have won Best Foreign Language. I mean, that's just a thought there because, and as we get to the big award, you'll understand.
And it's very rare that the foreign language film is easy to predict because the Academy, no matter how popular the film is, the Academy has a record of overlooking popular foreign films.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say. Now this one, the only ones I've seen at this point are Roma and The Star is Born. I had also said The Favorite could win again as part of a sweep, but that sweep never happened.
No, there was no real sweep.
No, there
Bohemian
wasn't.
Rhapsody
They
was
really,
the
they
closest.
really spread the wealth, and
Yeah.
we'll do a little bit of a sum up at the end of how they spread the wealth. Now, animated feature film,
Fun category.
we called it, but it was still a pleasant surprise. We had called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is a category where the only one I've not yet seen is Ralph Breaks the Internet. I really, really wanted Mariah to win. I called it as a long shot spoiler, but I didn't think it would win. Incredibles 2 was a much more likely spoiler, but I thought Into the Spider-Verse was so awesome. It had so much buzz behind it, and sure enough, it managed to pull off the crazy feat of passing Pixar and Disney. As we didn't do much on the Razzies, but they had their so-called Redeemer Award,
Yeah.
and they nominated Sony Pictures and cited going from Emoji Movie to Into the Spider-Verse.
I have to agree with that.
Can you do much better?
Before the release of Spider-Verse,
Right.
I mean, I had heard about it, and I wasn't really thinking. I mean, we've had comic book animated films come and
Right.
go, and they're fairly decent.
And DC's doing
And
a good job.
DC
with
does a
them.
good job,
Yeah.
but usually they're just kind of,
Yeah.
it's there. So if you had asked me 6 months ago,
No.
I would have said Incredibles 2 has a lock on this category. They're all good films. I've seen all but one. And, well, Wreck-It Ralph might not be good, but I've heard good things about it.
I finally got my copy, and yes, it arrived the day after the Oscars.
That's how they're supposed to do it, so you can't watch it.
That's stupid.
So, I don't know. I am glad. Once Spider-Verse came into being, I was hopeful. When I heard that it had won the Golden Globe, I was like, well, maybe it can win. But usually the Oscars doesn't always go with the Golden Globes.
Right.
When I saw it, I was like, oh, I really hope this wins.
Just ask Justin Hurwitz.
And then when it won the BAFTA, I was like, maybe I need to change my mind. And so I said, I'm going to take a chance on this. I was still pretty strongly leaning towards Incredibles 2 because Oscars loves Disney and Pixar. But I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I thought this was actually quite a cool win. And it is very cool. The animation style is kind of cool and experimental in a lot of areas. So if you haven't seen it, you need to go out and see that.
And apparently the occasional blurriness of the background is a side effect of the way they put the film together. They did a weird sort of mashup of 2D and 3D that is really cool, but it does occasionally have those off moments. But the foreground is usually pretty sweet, and they did a good job of creating a comic book look for the most part, which was very cool. And okay, the cats are acting up.
They are acting up. Alright, so next up for actress in a supporting role.
All right.
I had seen, one of the films. Roma, which I could tell you right there that Marina de Tavira was not going to win.
She was very much a surprise to most people when she got nominated. She was great in the film.
She is great in the film. Which one of the two was it their first role? It was two of them.
The lead actress, Yalitza Aparicio.
But,
Marina Tavira has been in a lot of Mexican productions, but she's new to most American audiences, yeah.
So, I was not surprised by the win. I mean, I did lean on Regina King winning this.
Oh, yeah.
And Amy Adams was a spoiler. She does have one in the running. She really does deserve one, and I'm sure she'll get one if she continues to do good work. Because they do reward people when they feel they have had their due. And I feel like she's
Most
one of
people.
those that's going to be up for it.
Most
there.
people, not everyone.
Not everyone.
Yes, I had thought this was an easy one to call. Regina King for Beale Street Could Talk. She was really the one everyone was talking about. I had called Amy Adams as a possible spoiler for Vice. Rachel Weisz as a possible spoiler for The Favorite. But, yeah, really, it was Regina King. And I really want to see if Beale Street Could Talk. I just haven't been able to go. Supporting actor was also pretty darn easy to call. I had, I have at this point seen 3 of those. Adam Driver in Black Klansman, Sam Elliott in A Star Is Born. Both were excellent roles, excellent performances. Both of them were overdue for Oscar consideration. Elliott in particular, 50 freaking years more than that.
Yeah.
He was overdue. Sam Rockwell got his overdue praise last year and frankly wasn't as good this year, but he was still good, just not as good. But he all 3 of them were overdue. Mahershala Ali was the lock, though, to win. I had called Elliott as a long shot, but Ali, in his role in Green Book, it was the one aspect of Green Book that got very little controversy attached to it, other than is he really supporting or is he a lead? There was some controversy over that. But other than that, everyone's like, yeah, he's going to win. Yeah.
See, and I'd seen the exact same too. Now, I think that if Sam Elliott's mustache had gotten the nomination instead of Sam Elliott, we would have seen a win right there. I think so, because his mustache does an excellent job in each of the films. And as we've shown earlier on, it could beat the crap out of Tom Selleck's mustache any day.
That's some kind of Eastern thing.
But either case, I had Mahershala Ali. To me, that was going to be Green Book's one token win. That was going to be requiring me to finally get it.
And I hadn't realized this before, but I learned about it after, and I suspect that the Academy, there probably were people who are aware of this. Ali now joins the long list of Denzel Washington as the black performers who have won more than one Oscar. It's kind of sad that there's only 2 of them. But, Ali is very talented. So is Denzel. I mean, they're both extraordinarily talented. So, he's in good company.
I mean, and I had Richard E. Grant as a spoiler for Can You Ever Forgive Me? I don't remember where I had heard his name whispered.
A lot of people were looking at that, because he also actually, Ali won 2 years ago for Moonlight, and Sam Rockwell won last year for 3 Billboards. And I think those were their respective first ever nominations. And both of them were considered overdue when they were nominated those times.
Yeah.
All 3 of the others were first time nominees who were considered overdue. So there were people rooting for them,
And speaking of overdue, let's go to lead actress.
Yes.
I actually purchased The Wife specifically because I had felt Glenn Close had a super strong chance at winning this award. She is way overdue.
You got stuck with a movie that didn't even win.
Well, I'm not stuck with it. It's a good film. And I felt like it also was missing a couple of, at least one additional nomination. It should have gone for Best Actor.
Yeah.
And
I like the music a lot.
It was a well-done film. It was worth seeing. Yeah. I've seen 3 in the category. I mean, again, Yalitza Aparicio? Yalitza
Aparicio.
She actually, this is her first time, so it was very little chance.
Her first time acting.
Yes.
Very impressive for first
it's
out
very
of the
impressive
gate.
just to get the nomination. That's actually an honor right there.
Right.
And Lady Gaga did an excellent job in The Star Is Born. But Olivia Colman, who won, I did pick as the spoiler because she was also the one that was the second strongest.
Right.
I just was so certain it was Glenn Close.
Same here. I call Glenn Close as a definite, Coleman as a long shot. We do also have to admit that Melissa McCarthy did an excellent job in her role as a presenter for costume design.
Yeah, she did do that. I like the rabbit puppet.
And of course, she had won some Razzies the day before, so she had an interesting weekend overall. And of course, Lady Gaga finally winning for the original song. She was a little bit overdue. Talking about overdue, it's really interesting that the two people who got robbed when the song from The Hunting Ground lost to that stupid Sam Smith song, and we had to listen to his stupid Oscar speech, one of the dumbest I've ever heard. They both were back this year in that category, and Diane Warren had no way of beating Lady Gaga when they were separated, unfortunately. Yeah. Maybe next year will be her year, but it is nice that one of the two has now won. And frankly, Shallow is even better than Till It Happens to You. They're both good songs.
Oh, yeah.
But where's the... we are up to the actor, are we not?
You got
and this was another pretty easy one to call. Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody. I have seen 3 of these. Vice, A Star Is Born, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Christian Bale, I thought it was a toss-up whether he or Malek was actually better. Yeah. I thought Bradley Cooper was the best of the bunch. He deserved to win, but it was Malek's year. Everyone was raving about that performance.
And he did. I think his performance was probably one
great.
of the best things about Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, easily.
It was certainly not the writing, but. I felt like Bohemian Rhapsody got more love than it deserved, but I think it's the one that won the most awards that night.
It did, and we'll do the final tally once we're done here. But and actually talking about the I cannot help but talk about the categories they should have. And Bohemian Rhapsody is a poster child for use of music in film. Oh, yes. But it also would have been, and the Academy showed us this because they kept cutting to Queen sitting in the audience. They kept cutting to them again and again and again. So even if you missed the opening performance, they award for best casting, if they ever did that.
Oh, yeah.
That I swear.
They did great with
the guy that plays Brian May is his spitting image.
Actually, the one that did John Deacon looks a lot like him. They did some very good casting.
Tim from Jurassic Park. I love that. He grew up to join Queen.
I mean, I'd seen only 2 of these for that category, but Rami Malek was just there. So, Best Picture.
Yes.
I have actually seen, 3, 4, 5 of the Best Pictures. They had only 8
6.
this year.
Yeah.
And
bastards.
Which is sad because you could have had 2 more in there. Maybe got Avengers in there, which would have been nice.
Infinity War, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mirai, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean,
I don't know if I would put that up for Best Picture.
Over Vice or Bohemian Rhapsody in a heartbit.
I haven't seen it, so
in a heartbeat. In fact, over those 2, I could go
Deadpool 2.
I would put Deadpool 2 over them. First Reformed.
Yeah.
Night a Short Walk On Girl. There were so many great options they could have snuck in with those 2.
So I had Roma as, in my opinion, I was dead certain Roma was going to win.
Yeah.
And I had said to myself, the only way Roma would not win is if the Oscars decided to totally shut out Roma because of it being on Netflix. That was the only way I could have seen it win.
Either that or the favorite pulling a sweep.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I had the favorite as a second.
See, and I had A Star Is Born as a second just because when it came out, A Star Is Born had such momentum behind it.
Right.
And then it kind of fizzled.
It fell victim to the Star Is Born curse.
Yes.
Which, if you look at the Oscar history of all 4 films, the one that everyone thinks of, the Judy Garland one, didn't get crap at the Oscars. It got shut out. All 3 of the others, 1 Oscar each.
But they all got nominations.
They did all get nominations, yes.
So the winner being Green Book, which I'll admit, it was why Green Book, and we'll get into that. I know you had actually you've said which ones are up, but Green Book.
In fairness, I've not seen it. In fairness, it could be a great film. From what I've heard, it's a very enjoyable film. From what I've heard, it's a good, old-fashioned Oscar bait movie that in the late 80s, early 90s would have cleaned up.
But has no place in this day and age.
Supposedly.
It is a white savior film about an individual who in reality turned out to actually be the guy who was, the white savior was actually turned out to be a very racist individual who had to leave his job because of how racist he was. And that is the dark, awful truth, is that the hero of this film is actually a villain, and is the villain in reality. And it's why I don't understand. But, there was a part of me early on before the controversy that I thought this one was going to clean up around the globes. I thought it was going to clean up. Then the controversy came out and said, okay, this is sinking it.
Well, I was hearing controversy almost from the get-go. I mean, but it definitely, it became more of a deafening roar as we got closer and closer to the Oscars. And one voice who kept quiet until after the show was Spike Lee. And I like the way he put it, although I feel for the man, because he apparently was the same year when Do the Right Thing came out. It was apparently the same year Driving Miss Daisy. And he's apparently held a grudge for 30 years over that one. And he's like, every time I lose, someone's driving someone somewhere. It's like,
well, he tried to
He's like, they changed the seating arrangements, But yeah, apparently he tried to storm out of the theater, and the ushers told him, no, you can't leave right now, and so he apparently went back to his seat and didn't look at the camera, or didn't look at the stage. And that might sound a little, but I'm like, and then later he says, like, the ref made a bad call, and I'm like, at least he had some little wit about it, some humor about it.
I mean, after he got over the initial rage that he felt.
Apparently a lot of people felt rage.
I've had people say that it was the worst Oscar win since Crash.
And I know he didn't like when Crash won,
Well, Crash is one of the more disgusting films I've seen, but
I kind of liked Crash,
I understand, though Crash had one thing going for it that this one did not. It had a powerful message on race that was fairly true to itself. This one has a fake message on race that is a lie, which is, it's about as racially appropriate to this day as the Green Mile is considered appropriate to this day. And
has the Green Mile gotten that much flack?
The Green Mile has not gotten a lot of flack because of when it was released. Yeah. You see, that's the difference, is it's been released. It's just like, if you go back in time, The Jazz Singer. Yes, The Jazz Singer has gotten some flack, but imagine if The Jazz Singer had been released today.
Right.
And then won the Oscar.
Right.
Now, that to me is about what we're getting here. It's just, I don't know.
You wanted to push for a concurrent release for Woody Allen collection.
You see, that's not him winning the Oscars. I don't believe in in a lot of the controversy anymore.
But you know what I mean, though, as far as like optics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really, most of this stuff, there is a little bit of a white savior complex with Roma, because it's from the Quarrel is Mexican, but he's white.
Yes.
And he's it's about his indigenous housekeeper, basically, but it's a very loving and genuine story. So it doesn't come off as false. It doesn't come off it feels genuine and heartfelt. And, some of these others, had other big themes, other big, like A Star Is Born gets very heavily into issues of mental illness and alcoholism and things like that, and I think I handled it pretty well.
Yeah.
Vice, of course, has gets into. Oh man, Christian Bale has some interesting comments. I kind of wanted to see him win just to see if he would thank Satan again. But it was not to be.
No, not to be.
Oh, well. So is that about do it, I guess?
I think we should wrap it up since we're at the hour mark.
Right. Oh, well, we did want to talk real quick on numbers. Bohemian Rhapsody ended up with the most winningest film with 4 wins, which definitely shows they spread the wealth a bit. They gave Black Panther, Roma, and Green Book 3 each. And were there any that had 2? I don't think there were.
Yeah, it's also fun that every Best Picture nomination got an award.
Every Best Picture winner got an award, or Best Picture nominee. That's only happened once since they expanded the field, and it has rarely happened before that. Usually a film gets shut out. Sometimes more than one.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, the max I've seen is maybe 3 in 1 year. I don't know.
I mean, if I was to have predicted before this whole debacle, I would have thought if any of them was going to be shut out, it would have been Green Book.
Exactly. I would have thought that. The Favorite nearly got shut out and then pulled that huge upset. That was very surprising. So they spread the wealth. So I guess good for them. Yeah.
Well, in any case, I hope you've enjoyed this. And this is a little bit short, by 15 minutes. And hopefully you all enjoy our little analysis.
Yeah.
And we will see you on our next wonderful video.
Yep. Bye.
Goodbye.